Hello everybody. Today I am going to be addressing the facts about applying into a private university in Brazil for foreigners. But before I go on, let me apologize in advance should in case I sneeze or should in case I cough or should in case I do anything out of the ordinary. Just pardon me in advance, okay? I have flu. Anyway, let's dive right into what we have to talk about today. So, talking about applying into a private university in Brazil as a foreigner, I have had lots of questions about this because a whole lot of people would rather apply into a private university, easy busy, easy admission, you know, easy admission, easy everything, no stress, no competition, and all of that stuff. For those of you that are watching me for the first time, this is to let you know that applying into a public university in Brazil is absolutely free of charge, but it is competitive. Okay. So, due to the competitiveness of the process of applying into a public university in Brazil, most people would just most likely want to just apply into private universities, yeah, and just get it done and over with. A lot of people do not want to deal with the struggles of applying into a public university. Now, because a lot of people have been asking me about it, like I said, wanting to avoid the struggles that is attached to applying into a public university, which is free. Here is my observations, and here is my how will I say it? Here is my strong opinion and advice to anyone willing to go the private university route. Now, applying into a private university in Brazil, you must understand you would get the admission very easy. You might not need to do anything related to pre-projects, writing a pre-project, because most universities, public universities in Brazil, which is free, would request that you write a pre-project, which is usually, in my opinion, not very, very difficult to do. Okay. But some people might find it challenging to do. So let me not speak for others. Okay. But in my opinion, it's not something so difficult to do. But at the end of the day, you might keep writing pre-projects for different universities and then still not get selected. That doesn't mean that people do not get selected. They do. And people gain admission a whole lot, foreigners. So all you need to do is never give up, keep applying. It definitely will happen because a whole lot of foreigners are here studying in various reputable public universities in Brazil absolutely for free. Plus, for the masters and PhD, they even get stipends like financial assistance every month. Okay, for the undergraduates, no financial assistance, but then you study absolutely for free. Still on scholarship, you study for free. And applying directly, whether through scholarship or not, you still study for free for international students. Okay, absolutely for free in public universities. Now, let's go back to the situation with the private university. Now, you should understand that as soon as you gain your admission, like I said before, you might not have to deal with a whole lot of processes that is entangled with the public university. But then, after gaining your admission, there's something you need to really, really put at the back of your mind, which is visa processing. When it comes to visa processing, you need to ask yourself, what is the situation with the private university when it comes to getting your visa? Now, with the public university, once you gain admission into the public university, which is absolutely for free, funded and taken care of by the government and by some scholarship bodies, you do not need to stress about visas because you would definitely get your visas. You do not need to worry about that. There are usually no rejections when it comes to public universities. Yes, because because the truth is that they value or they respect their public universities more than their private universities when it comes to international students coming in. Okay, now let me illustrate. Let me expatiate more on that. Now, they respect their private universities. Their private universities are amazing. They're good. Nothing wrong with the private universities, okay? Now, they also respect their public universities very much. But when it comes to international students coming into their country, they respect the fact that you gain admission into a public university rather than a private university. I'm going to explain. So they have more respect for you and also for the fact that you gained admission into a public university than if a foreigner or if an international student gained admission into a private university. All right, reasons best known to them. Now, I'm going to explain why I think they respect you more when you gain admission into into a public university. Now, when they see that you've gained admission into a public university, it tells them that you have worked so hard to gain that admission. Why? Because gaining admission into a public university in Brazil, which is free, it is very competitive. Like, they believe you have done so much. They believe you have hustled and struggled so hard. They believe you have struggled to find schools, apply, written pre-projects. They believe you have done extremely a lot of things to at least get that admission. It's almost like it's golden when you get it. So they respect you more when you gain that admission into a public university. Unlike the private university where they feel that it's an easy way out of everything, whether to travel out of a country or to just get into Brazil, it's just an easy way out. So that's the main reason I believe they prefer and they respect you more when you gain admission into the university, into the public university. And when you get that admission, so like I said before, I would say for international students, in my conclusion, they respect their public universities more for international students. It doesn't mean their private universities are not solid or they are not good, but when it comes to admission for international students, they respect you and they respect their public universities more for international students. Okay, so that brings me to visa issues for private universities. The truth is that when you gain your admission into a private university, the truth is that it is a 50-50 chance when it comes to visas. I have mentioned before that when you gain admission into a public university, it is an outright visa approval. Nothing stops it, nothing hinders it, nothing obstructs it, except you do something wrong or something. Even if during your application you don't submit certain documents, they would mail you to ask you for documents. They don't reject you outrightly. Even for tourist visas, if something is missing, they will mail you to send them the documents they need from you. They don't just reject visas because you've omitted a particular document. Whether for tourists, whether for student visa, they will send you a message for you to send them whatever they need. That is the good thing about Brazil and Brazil immigration and Brazil visa processing. All right. So now, like I said, 50-50 is the chance you have when it comes to applying into a private university or gaining admission through a private university in Brazil. And I've explained why. They have more respect, more quality stands for international students gaining admission into their public universities. They have more respect for that. That doesn't mean that some people haven't gotten visas to study here in Brazil through the private university. Now, I know somebody who has gained admission and gotten into this country through a private university. However, the people I know that have been rejected are more than the people that have been given the visas. Now, for example, my last case, the last situation I experienced with a particular Nigerian, applied. I always encourage people at the end of the day, if you ask me which route should I go, I would rather tell you be patient and continue to try. Never give up. Continue to apply into public universities so that you don't have to go through the headache of will I get the visa, will I not get the visa? All right. Like I said before, your visa is outrightly stamped and approved as soon as you get a legit admission into a public university and you study for free. Now, going back to the private university. Now, like I was talking about a particular person that I know that applied. I encouraged this person continue to work hard on a public university, but then she couldn't stand the pressure. She couldn't stand the competition and all of that. So she went through the private university route, and at the end of the day, she went for her. Because usually, now this brings me to the fact that when you apply into a public university, there's the zero chance that you'll be invited for an interview. You will not be invited for an interview. They will just need you to, apply and send them the necessary documents that they need to approve or to process your visa. On the other hand, private university, when you gain your admission and all of that, so there is the 100% chance that you would be invited for an interview, especially women. Now, like I said before, they usually see you applying through a private university as an easy way out, especially we Nigerians. I don't want to generalize the situation. We Nigerians are very smart people. We can use any opportunity to achieve anything. So they'll most likely will look at it from this point of view, like we can use any opportunity to get out of the country. So most times they would want to know or understand if actually you want to go study or you just want to use the private university, the easy way out to get into Brazil. So this is usually their problem. They don't want it to be like a situation whereby you're using a private university, which is so easy to gain the admission, to get out of the country and move into Brazil. They want it to be that you worked hard to gain your admission. You really did a lot of, working hard to gain your admission. That's why they prefer the public university, because they know it is quite competitive, and they know that for you to gain admission into any public university, you must have done a lot. Sometimes people don't even do a lot. You might just apply one time and you're very fortunate. You didn't even have to do a whole lot other than the first pre-project and that very first school, and then you're very lucky and then boom, you get in. All right. So as a result of that, they would want to scrutinize you. They will want to ask you questions. They want to know whether you really, really have interest in studying in Brazil, or you just want to use that private university to get out of the country very easily. So as a result, they invite you for an interview. Most likely, 95% chance they would invite you for an interview for a private university if you gain admission into a private university. Now, when you go, one thing I would like to say to you, one of the questions that is very important for you to know that they might ask you is, because I have had experiences of people that have gone for the interview and I've gotten one or two questions from them that they were usually asked. They will ask you like questions. When they ask you a question like, when you get to Brazil, would you take your family along? Would you take your family after you? So most of the time, I would advise you to say no, because that question is very tactical. They are trying to use that question to know if your traveling is as a means, if you're applying through a private university is as a means of taking you and your family out of Nigeria or out of any country that you are to travel to Brazil. So it's a very tactical question. If you go to Brazil, to study, would you take your family along? Just, in my strongest opinion, I would prefer that you say no, because this way they see it as, oh, you are really going to study. You really want to go face your studies. It's not about you traveling or about you taking your family to travel out of Nigeria or any country that you are in. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So you indicating to them that, yeah, I'm going to take my family along, it might give them a signal as to, oh, okay, it's all about relocating with your family out of Nigeria. So when they ask you that type of questions, you have to be smart. And whenever they ask you questions, think about it before answering, because for every question they ask you, they are trying to find out if you are using that easy means, the private university, as an easy way to travel out of Nigeria or to travel out of any country that you're in to Brazil. So they don't want things to come so easy, so cheap. They don't want you to use a means to just get out of a particular country and then move to their country without a strong reason. All right. So that is basically it. I believe I have explained enough. So make sure that you're ready for an interview. It's a two-way thing. Private universities, admission into private university, 50-50, and then you might likely be called for an interview. Whenever you go for an interview, make sure that you are ready for the questions. Listen before answering, pay attention properly before answering, for every questions that come to you are very tactical, and they are a means to detect whether you are trying to use that private institution as a means to get out easily out of your country to Brazil. Another thing you need to work on is to make sure that you have enough finances, you have enough ties to your country, a proof as to that you know that ties you a whole lot to your country, that will help. And enough money, if possible, if you have a history of businesses or a business or a job at the moment, you can show proof that you were actually grounded in your country before applying through that private university. All right, so I believe this has explained a whole lot. Thank you for listening to me today. I will definitely see you in my next video. If you have questions, put it down in the comment section below. I will definitely be there to respond to you. Have an amazing day, everybody. Bye.